And for more on this, let's bring in Gordon Chang. He joins us now via phone. He's a columnist for the Daily Beast and the author of Nuclear Showdown, North Korea Takes on the World. Gordon, good morning.
Thank you so much.
What do you make of these sanctions, these new sanctions? This is companies, this is financial institutions, this is individuals, and this is China. Do you feel good about this move?
I feel really good about this because this move is significant. And it does mean what President Trump said. You either do business with the North Koreans or you do business with us. Now, the real issue is going to be enforcement. The Treasury Department now has all the authority it needs, but it needs to go around the world mopping up all of these flows of funds into North Korea. And it's not just China. We're talking about a dozen countries in Africa, and we're talking about countries around the world. So this is going to be an important exercise for Treasury, and I hope that they have the staff to be able to do this because people have been saying that even before this announcement, with much less authority, the Treasury staff was overwhelmed.
That was my question, Gordon, was can we actually enforce these sanctions, not just from our side with staff and Treasury, to your point, but also via the Chinese? I mean, the Chinese have had, frankly, an investment in North Korea, in particular when it comes to migrant labor. That it has benefited them to be a partner, an ally of North Korea, at least financially so. Are they going to be really willing to give up that relationship?
They'll be only willing to do that if the U.S. imposes costs on China and actually goes through with sanctioning entities and banks that do business. Now, every financial transaction involving dollars, except those in cash, leaves some sort of fingerprint in New York. So that means that Treasury will be able to track down people that violate these rules. But it's going to be very hard because there are a lot of transactions in dollars, and dollars dominant currency in the world. So it's going to really boil down to not the Chinese attitude. They're not going to want to do this, despite the central bank's order. What will happen will be they will do this if the U.S. is vigilant.
Gordon, what do you make about this new threat from North Korea's foreign minister, that they may test a hydrogen bomb over the Pacific Ocean? We haven't had a real true atmospheric test of a hydrogen bomb since 1980. And by the way, that was the Chinese that did it. How concerned are you about what the North Korean minister said?
Yeah. Ri Yong-ho's threat was actually something that people had talked about that would be made eventually by the North Koreans. So they're pretty good at carrying through on their threats. They don't always carry through on them when they say they will, but eventually they get around to doing most everything that they say. So unless the United States really goes after these guys, they probably will conduct an atmospheric test. The one thing, though, is significant is that, despite all of these insults from Kim Jong-un and despite this threat from the foreign minister actually postponed his UN General Assembly speech, which was supposed to take place to today, to some indefinite time in the future. That means the North Koreans have not figured out how to deal with President Trump. And so right now, I think that there's a lot of confusion in Pyongyang.
Yeah. That's interesting, Gordon. That's a very good point, especially with everything we've seen at the United Nations this week between several countries. Gordon Chang, thank you very much. Appreciate it.